This shirt don't fit like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt.
To another edition of Talking Sports. And gentlemen, it's finally football season. Welcome to the show, guys. Got Troy and Steve with me tonight. Boys, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Good to be here, Ben.
It's happy to finally take all those fantasy dollars and see them either being put to good use or flushing them down the toilet starting just about an hour ago.
Yeah. Speaking of toilets, we're going to start off swinging here a little bit tonight. Overreactions from college football so far, before they're too far in the NFL, I think is an appropriate topic right now. We talked about it outside the show. I'll bring it up here. Some of you may have seen this week, or last week rather, a certain Florida State fan decided that he would put a lot on the line in his bet that Florida State would not lose to Boston College. And the dude ghosted us. So there's that. Florida State, you are garbage. And apparently you're doggy doo-doo as well. But other overreactions, gentlemen. Troy, I want to start with you.
Yeah.
What's your overreaction in week one in college football, official week one?
Well, I mean, the only thing I really followed real closely, was the Wolverines and their attempt, to go back to back here, which I'll say right up front, I don't think it's happening. I don't even think they're going to make the playoff, to be honest with you. This was a poor succession plan, in my opinion, on the quarterback situation here. It's like they were not ready to move on from JJ McCarthy. I don't know. He was only a junior, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he actually did have another year of eligibility, I believe.
Based on his age, it has to be correct, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if they were hoping to talk him into staying another year. I don't know what the plan there was. I don't know if they didn't expect him to his draft stock to rise like it did. But yeah, they're not ready. This David Orji guy, I mean, they've been talking about him for a few years now, and I see absolutely nothing from him. I think he's out of position. I don't think he's a quarterback at all. And then the other guy, I can't even remember his name. That's how much of an impact he left on me. Was it Davis Warren or something weird like that, right? I mean, just not good. I mean, if this team's going to go anywhere, it's going to have to rely on their defense and their running game, which, to be fair, it did a lot last year. But when the chips were down and you needed JJ to make a play, he did. And I don't think you're going to see the quarterbacks on this Michigan team do that this year. So I think you're going to have two representatives, possibly three out of the Big Ten, though. I like a lot of what I've seen from Penn State, and I hate to say that. I know I'm from Pennsylvania, but I am not a Penn State fan by any means. But I like a lot of what I've seen there. James Franklin is known to blow big games, so we'll see where that goes. But I see Penn State, possibly Ohio State, and Oregon all possibly being Big Ten representatives. So,
okay, Steve, what about you? What are you ready to overreact to in week one of official week of college football?
I don't know if it's an overreaction, but it's the tides of conferences that I don't know if we've expected what we're seeing. For example, as we just talked about, Florida State being 0-2 going into the third week of the season, where Georgia Tech is 2-0. And the question coming down to, will the ACC still have relevance when you look at your top 25? You've got Miami at 12, and you've got Louisville at 22, Georgia Tech at 23, NC State at 24, and Clemson at 25. So you've got the majority of teams in the league. They're ranked, but they're ranked down. And the question is, are they going to continue to grow in the rankings, or are they going to fall off as other teams in the SEC? And the Big 12, I mean, my goodness, the Big 12 is surprising. I know we've got teams like West Virginia that lost to Penn State last week, but they didn't embarrass themselves. But I think the overreaction is, did anyone catch any of the Pac-12, Pac-2 action over the weekend?
I didn't even know there was any teams left in the pack.
Yeah, I did not.
I mean, they had a CW doubleheader. Both teams are on the CW. And it was the weirdest thing to see. Thank you, YouTube TV Multiview. Once again, not sponsoring the show, but you saved my bank. You saved my bacon on Saturday.
You just throw it out there. YouTube TV, we'll take it. We'll take it.
So being able to watch the Pac-12, literally, the logos are still on the field. The officials are still on the sidelines with the chain gang wearing the Pac-12 aprons. Like, here we are with two teams left in this little mini whatever you want to call it, remnant of a conference, and it's like we are still the Pac-12. And I don't know. I mean, I was sitting there with my dad over the weekend looking at this saying, what are they trying to do here? Is this an attempt to just say we can make it on our own until someone accepts us into the fold? Or is this a play to say, okay, teams from the next tier down of conferences, come rejoin a big power for one of the top tiers. We want to become one of those leagues again that, is looked at in high regard and is in contention for those automatic qualifiers into those 4 slots in the football playoff. So I don't know what to think, but
who are these teams you speak of, Steve? Who were they?
Which teams are that?
Well, the teams that you were talking about that were on the CW this week or whatever.
Well, there was Washington State played Portland State, and Oregon State played. Who did they play? Idaho State.
Okay, so Washington State and Oregon State are still considered Pac-12?
Yes.
See, I missed that. I totally thought the Pac-12 folded.
No. They are still if you look on Google and look at rankings or standings for the different conferences, the Pac-12 is there. Oregon State is 1, Washington State is 2.
So why didn't they just defer to another? Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous.
Well,
if you would just have Big 4 conferences, then you would have those 4 automatically get bids. It would be so much easier to sort out the playoffs.
Ben, if I can throw one more thing in before you, the funny thing is that they have a scheduling alliance with the Mountain West for this season, and it just broke during this week that they were not able to come to terms with the Mountain West to continue that scheduling alliance for 2025. So the question is going to come into, it's pretty much going to be a Pac-12 independent schedule with the exception of playing Oregon State will play Washington State. And besides that, they may have 2 completely different schedules depending on what teams they can schedule next year. It's crazy.
Well, I could assume that agreement broke down due to what I would guess would be a no poaching agreement, because the Mountain West has to know that they're square in the sights right now. If you're looking at history, let's use basketball for example. The Big East died with the football realignment, but the name still mattered. And now we have the Big East Conference that exists in basketball. I think the Pac-12 remnants are trying to do the same thing, keeping their name alive, because calling it what it is, Washington State and Oregon State have great fan bases, but they're not huge and they're not loaded. I mean, you look at who had the money there. You have Washington and Oregon had the money, obviously. Washington State and Oregon State obviously did not. And so this is where I'm looking at this saying, I look at Boise State. I look at those leftovers that kind of where they're going to go. But the Mountain West, what I'd say, is right for picking there if you're going to look at anything that's going to kind of meld in. Own that West Coast. But now with the ACC and the Big Ten having coast-to-coast conferences, I still believe that there's a chance Washington State and Oregon State still believe they can get into one of those conferences going to matter. If that's bringing value to the American Athletic, I don't know. But money is still going to be the problem because no one wants to go to the Pacific Northwest, especially if you're on the East Coast. Especially to play Washington State or Oregon State. You're playing Oregon, okay, got it. You got the Ducks, you got a brand. But the Beavers, while I like to watch them, outside of Adley Rushmore, what are they giving us? So
would you guys be interested? Would you guys be interested in opening up a university and getting a team out there?
I mean, not Utah, I suppose. No, but this is where I look at all that. I think it's one of those spots where I got to assume they're looking for something to give them money, because why else would you still have that Pac-12 logo and Pac-12 tips? You're literally pulling out from the closet from last year to give your guys stuff to wear. But other overreactions I want to touch on here for a second. Yeah, I'm going to look at this and say that the Big Ten will break their stereotypes this year. What I mean by this is, of the 18 teams who went 17-1 to start the season, right? I think you've got a spot right now for the Big Ten to start elevating to a spot where hopefully with these additions you see that overtaking the SEC. It won't happen though. I'm a Big Ten guy, and all my friends that had basically over some beers will know this. I will to the death defend the Big Ten and argue for them. But if I'm being honest, I'm being realistic, the SEC will still win this battle because that's literally all that matters in that section of the country. In the Southeast,
you're not wrong.
That Major League Baseball outside of Atlanta, they don't care. NFL, they don't care. They're nice. They like having them, but they don't care. They want to see what the SEC is going to do. Now, my actual overreaction to go to here next is going to be there will be at least 5 SEC coaches looking for a job by the end of the season, if not before it.
Yep.
Florida will fire Napier. That's going to happen. They did not show up against in-state rival Miami. They got embarrassed at home. The Swamp is not sacred, clearly, and they looked piss poor. Florida will be hiring a new coach this year. Vandy will be hiring a new coach this year. Arkansas, despite Pittman being a good coach, will be hiring a coach this year. I think that the other two remains to be seen. I think that Elko is going to flop in A&M, but he's not going to fire him right away. But I think A&M is set for a really long, hard season this year.
Yep.
Especially now with Texas, their big brother joining the conference, and Oklahoma looking like they do right now. Yep. So it's the one curveball thrown to that is I think Florida could snipe a coach in conference a la Bob Stoops, Lane Kiffin. Could be that next stop for Florida boosters to say, we're not going to keep losing because the Gators do not take losing well. We've all seen that in history. It's going to come around. But moving past overreactions, I want to preview a little bit what we're looking at this next weekend.
What are the chances Florida and Florida State are fighting over Prime, though?
There's no fight. Prime goes to Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. If Prime has the decision, but I think there's actually a nice segue for what I want to talk about here. Looking at the best games this weekend, it's funny to me because the Colorado game only matters to me because of Prime. They looked stupid week 1. They're playing Nebraska, who also is in their own new head coach as the main focus, not the players situation. So I think that right now that Nebraska-Colorado game has the most chances to sway coaching decisions come this offseason. Okay, Nebraska's not firing. He's saying they're going to be fine. But I think that Colorado's going to get embarrassed in Lincoln this weekend. Good game to watch. But I want to kick to you here, Troy, on this one. I highlight Texas and Michigan, even though I think this is going to be an absolute embarrassment in the big house. This is still a game to watch. What do you think?
I'm kind of on board with you. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as embarrassment, but I would say Texas win probably by 10, 15, something like that. I do think they'll win by double digits. I just don't see enough out of Michigan. But with that being said, I think they're going to keep it. I mean, Texas is explosive, but I think we're going to see Michigan kind of keep them down a little bit, which will help keep Michigan in the game a little bit. I still see it probably be like 24-13, somewhere around that range probably is my guess.
Okay. See, what's your take on that game? It was kind of an interesting match to look at. Our only two top 10 teams playing each other. What do you think?
I think Michigan is going to have a good game. That's the problem is I think the Michigan of the Big Ten at rank 10 versus the Texas of the SEC, as you said, I think the Big Ten this year has more power to it. I see Michigan as having a good game. I think they're going to go 2-0, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be, but imagine if this game was scheduled in December or late November or something like that, one of those last weeks of the season when it's like no degrees in Michigan and it's blowing snow, it'd be a totally different thing because I don't know how Texas could handle that.
I don't know if Texas would have signed up for that.
I'm just saying, think about it though, because now with the college playoffs, a matchup like that could happen. They could be playing at the Big House in December in blowing snow. So I think Michigan's going to win the game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout at all, but I definitely I think we'll see a good game. Because then they get Arkansas State. They have their cupcake game the following week. So, and then they're back to playing SC the following week. So, it'll be a good one.
Hey, World War Joe, we see your question over there. We'll jump on that question there when we jump over to the NFL talk.
Thank you. Good call there. And TJ also, Bob mentioned yours also. Oregon is not a top 10 team. I'm disagree with you there, TJ, but we'll get through that here hopefully a little bit too.
Yep.
Arkansas, Oklahoma State's another game that's got my attention. It's on ABC, noon Eastern. And this one will be my barometer for Arkansas for the rest of the season. That I think will confirm my suspicion that Pittman's going to get fired by the end of the year. But I think the Cowboys are going to come out firing, and this is in Stillwater.
Yep.
But that's my take. What do you guys think?
I'm 100% with you. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's just Arkansas is a good team. I mean, not a great team, but Oklahoma State's just come on.
Yeah.
You go there, and it's just it's a different atmosphere. I mean, they're just.
I can see Oklahoma State making a run, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially
I like
how it's stacks now in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is. Yeah. Hate to say it, but it's what they kind of need to get rid of Texas and Oklahoma and make way for themselves.
True.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of Big 12, though, Kansas State's another consistent power in that conference. They're playing at Tulane. Tulane's had a good run here of late. They lost a lot of talent, though, too. I think it's an interesting game down in Yulman Stadium in New Orleans. But, I mean, Kansas State's the clear prohibitive favorite here. Almost 10 points last I looked at the line on the road. Does it, as Thunder Hafkins first, does this game intrigue you guys from a football standpoint, or is this kind of like, go check the score, and that's probably good enough?
I think it's I just pulled up the preview for the game, and multiple outlets have it listed as a Tulane opportunity for CFP credibility.
Absolutely.
So I think that's kind of what you're looking at. But I think honestly, first couple weeks out of the season, rankings are rankings, but I don't know, I think they just, take that first week and kind of start moving it over, because there's still some of these teams playing cupcakes and other teams are playing their harder games right out of the gate. So let's see. I mean, it could be close, could be a blowout, but I'll be score watching on that, of course, but it's not something, but as folks are saying, this could be Tulane saying, hey, look at me from outside of the Power Five, or outside of the group, and let's how everything works. The Power Five is I always get it mixed up. The Power Five is the big ones, right?
Yes.
Yep. It's the Power Five and the Group of Five. I always get those backwards.
No, I mean, I'm kind of on board with you there. I do, this is a game that I'm going to scoreboard watch and kind of keep an eye on. I don't think it's impossible to see an upset here. I really don't. This is probably one of those games where I'll watch scoreboard watch, that type of thing. Yep. And if it gets to a point near the end of the game where Tulane's right in there and has a chance, then I'll probably click over to it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that looking at overall, Tulane's made a good run. They've made themselves something that's worth watching again.
Mm-hmm.
That defense has been a big part of that. It's hard to ignore that piece also. But also, ESPN noticed this, putting on the noon slate as well as their noon game. So that's something of note for that game.
Yep.
Too. But the next game I want to look at is Georgia Tech, who's ranked 23rd, by the way, right now.
Wow.
Going to the Carrier Dome. Sorry, the JMA Wireless Dome now.
Whatever. Pick the name of the dome today.
Yeah. So they're going to Syracuse. So we've got Georgia Tech playing the Orange. I think this is going to be a really fun game. Like, this is one that again, Syracuse has pulled some really interesting games out the last few years. But I think that Georgia Tech is I think they're fool's gold. I think that Florida State's not as we thought they were. And they beat a bad team in Ireland. And now I think this is one where Syracuse can make their name for themselves and kind of leapfrog into the rankings. But this is more on your neck of the woods here, guys. What do you guys think?
Syracuse has a sneaky good chance to be a good team this year. I don't know if you guys remember this or familiar with this, but they got the Ohio State transfer from last year. What, Kyle McCord, is that his name or something like that? And I also think they have somebody's son that used to be an NFL player, Oronde Gadsden. Gadsden. I think his son is one of their top receivers as well. So it's kind of interesting that Marvin Harrison, that whole thing. He went to Syracuse, and then his kid ended up going to where the hell did Marvin Harrison Jr. come from last year?
Ohio State.
Ohio State, that's right. So then now you got the Ohio State kid. He goes over to Syracuse, and now he's got Rhonda Gadsden, whatever, Jr. or whatever, over there. It's just weird how that dynamic played out. But no, Syracuse has a sneaky good chance to be a good team this year. So I'm curious. I mean, this Syracuse wins this game. I see them making a run. I see them making a run and making themselves relevant.
Yeah, definitely fun to watch. I think you got Steve Frozen right there. It's not a bad look for you. So you look good in your frozen position.
I'm going to have, once we talk about college football, I'm going to dip off and reboot for a quick second. But Georgia Tech is a family. My wife is from Atlanta originally, so we have a little bit of a Georgia Tech rooting interest in the family. And I want to see them go 3-0. I mean, they've had the up years, they've had the down years recently. Let's see. And this is, something I was mentioning earlier. The ACC, I think, and I was going to bring this up in 4 minutes on high, but I'll bring it up now. Bill O'Brien at Boston College. Yeah. I mean, holy cow. Like, to go there to knock off Florida State coming out of the gate as your first ACC test. He's back in the Northeast. That's where he did so much with the Patriots. It's time to see what is really going on with the ACC. There's these schools that want to leave. There's these schools that are upset. Now there's these new schools that have come in from the Central, SMU and the, UCLA, Cal and Stanford. What do we want to do here? Let's see some different teams. Let's stop though. And I think Florida State starting out 0-2 is kind of saying to the other teams in the ACC, look, it may not be a runaway for who makes the playoffs out of our conference this year.
Well, at that point, Clemson got housed by Georgia.
Yep, they did.
I didn't see that happen.
Match I know you're looking even closer at, and that's Pitt at Cincy.
Yep.
Go ahead and roll into that game for me a little bit, as objective as you can. What do you expect to see? The Bearcats prevail? Vegas seems to think so, but
yep.
It's a close line.
Here's the thing. I was at the Pitt game on Saturday. They started Eli Holstein, the transfer, at quarterback. And there was been some debate in town about that because there, had been some quarterbacking soldiers that had kind of hung on, waited their turn while they kept bringing through all these different quarterbacks. They tried Vare, who came over from Penn State. They tried all this other stuff. And Yarnell was, everybody's like, come on, give him a chance finally. And they end up naming Holstein. He looked good at times. There was a couple moments that I was looking at my dad and other people in the stands going, this kid came from Alabama. Like what's going on here? But Pat Narduzzi's hanging with him. Rodney Hammond was declared ineligible before the game last week for undisclosed reasons. He's their main running back. They picked up the load without him last week. I was impressed with the Pitt defense, but they're going up against Cincinnati. That is no slouch. I'm excited. Trust me. If I didn't have things to do this weekend, my butt would be in Cincinnati watching this game because some of my favorite games when I was about 10 years younger were when Big East was still included Cincinnati and Pitt, and those were some fantastic games. There was one when Pitt was supposed to go to a major bowl game, and Cincinnati came into Pittsburgh and said, that's not happening. And that was a bad night for all of us in Pittsburgh. So I'm looking for a close game. I'm looking for a good game. I think it's going to be a big test because Pitt's got two Big 12 teams back to back. They play Cincy this week. They play West Virginia next week. So we're going to see where things go from there.
Okay. Troy, what's your take on this game?
I'm not real familiar with either squad, to be honest with you. So I don't know that I have a real good take here. I know Cincinnati's been, up there in the rankings here the last couple years. So I know, what they have going on there. They have a pretty decent squad, and they have a good recruiting class going on. Pitt always seems to be right there on the verge of breaking through. and then something happens, and then they crash back down to earth for a few years, and then they seem to want to sneak back up again, and then they crash back down to earth again. So I don't know where we're at with them, what part of the cycle we're in with them. But my take is that they'll win one of these next 2 games. They're either going to beat Cincinnati or beat West Virginia. I don't think they're going to lose both those games. There's too much backyard stuff going on there for them to lose both.
So right now, my take here is going to be that Cincinnati, for me, they lost their step when Fickle came to Wisconsin. They had that team with Ritter. They had a good thing going for them.
Yep.
But Justin Tucker's missed a field goal.
Yeah,
right
how about that?
Now. But no, I think Pitt wins the game. I think Narduzzi's just going to be a better coach right now. But Pitt, if I had to give an analogy, they're always the bridesmaid, right?
Yeah.
It's that always the bride, never the bride. They're all, to your point, they're always there. Even when they're a 1 seed in basketball, you're just like, well, they're going to blow it somewhere. It's just that it's almost inevitable. And it's not by any stretch wishing ill on them. It's the one Pittsburgh team I don't hate. But it's I shouldn't say I don't hate the Pirates. I kind of feel bad for them too. But no, in all seriousness, I look at this and Pitt's they're fun to watch. It's a good brand of football. But yeah, I have them winning, but it's going to be close. I think that these teams do cover the over though at 62.5. Will be a fun barn burner to say the least.
Yeah.
But for me, the game of the week, going forward here a little bit, is Iowa State at Iowa.
Nice.
And again, this is going to be ugly, as it usually is. It's going to be, look, Iowa scored points last week. Maybe that means something. I don't know. But this is our new facelift to CBS with the Big Ten taking over the CBS contract, now taking that 2:30 game or 3:30 Eastern. But I think Kinnick Stadium is going to make a difference here, and the Clones are going to take that loss. Matt Campbell's probably the best coach in the weirdest spot in the country right now. I know he's passing opportunities to interview, but Iowa's got this game as far as I can tell. The 3.5 point favorites for Iowa, 35.5 is the over. Do with that what you will. But Steve, what do you see in this Iowa State-Iowa matchup?
A great game. I haven't really looked honestly at this one, but these two teams, it's just one of those games that every year you're like, hey, let's see what happens. And it's always one of those ones. And you're right. It's going to be interesting to see this now on the Big Ten on CBS. It's a different, because usually this is an ESPN or ABC like featured game, or occasionally this will be a Fox, like, with the Iowa State being in the Big 12. So to see a different network broadcast this game, it's going to be a good time though. The 3:30 on Saturday is, I want to say it's a little bit of a traffic jam, but it's going to be one of those ones once again where if you can have multiple TVs or a quick clicker, you're going to see a lot of action. Hey, networks, this is your call to find some kind of way to have a red zone where you can all work as a family and let us whip between games like they do for the NFL, because this is one of those weekends where we need it.
ESPN does their games at goal line, but that's supposed to get to it right now.
Yeah.
But, I actually, my least favorite thing with Iowa, they look like the freaking Steelers in the field, and it drives me nuts.
They do.
I know.
It's
Troy,
and it's not.
Yeah, sorry.
Looks like Roquan Smith just got a pick.
Guess so.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'd like to see Michigan still would have had Cade McNamara. That would be pretty nice.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, I didn't realize the over-under on this game was what you just said at 35.5 until you just said that.
35.5.
And I'm looking at like 35.5. Like, they can score that by accident, can't they?
You would think that, but this is also the same school that has I Come for the Punter t-shirts on sale. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but
that was last year though, and I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at who did Iowa even play last week? Did they play like some Division III team or something?
They're playing Maxwell, I think. I don't know who it was though.
Because I'm looking at the stat line, it doesn't look hard. I mean, Cade threw for 3 touchdowns. This Johnson had 2 touchdown runs, 120 yards, and This Vander Zee had 2 touchdown receiving, and then even on the Iowa State side, I mean, their quarterback threw for 267, 2 touchdowns, and
they played Illinois State.
Who's that? Iowa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. 40-0.
I mean, I guess that's what they're looking at here, but I don't know. I mean, this seems like it's too obvious to hammer the over, right? It seems too obvious. So you almost got to take the under because it seems so obvious to take the over. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like a trap.
Well, the funny thing is here is it's such a trap that I won't touch it.
Yeah.
It's that's one of those just like, whoa, like something's not right here, but it'll be interesting. But you talk about that ABC.
I think I agree though. I think the home field advantage takes away here, and I think Iowa pulls away. So
okay, ABC taking the SEC on this one, which is kind of switch of positions here, right? So Kentucky is hosting South Carolina. Now, I'm looking at this and I see Beamer and Stoops as 2 guys that could be on the move coaching wise, depending on how their teams play this year. But I think this is actually a sneaky good game. Kentucky is 10-point favorites at home, but this could be one of those games you want to watch in the fourth quarter. One of those kind of scoreboard watching you mentioned before, the Tulane game.
Yep.
This is how I have this one for me. I'm going to be kind of watching what's happening in the corner and might be flipping over this one at some point. I think Kentucky's a better team.
Yes.
But I think Beamer's a good coach too, so I want to see what he has to pull out here for him.
Yep. I agree with that. I agree with everything you just said there, honestly. I think, Kentucky should win that game. But if it's close at the end, watch out because I think South Carolina could steal it.
Yep.
Yeah, I would take South Carolina with the points, honestly, if I'm a betting man on that one.
Yep.
Now, going back to your side of the country here, guys, Maryland hosts Michigan State in what I think is going to be a very good game. Like, say what you will about Maryland. They've had their ups and downs. They've been a bipolar team the last few years.
Yeah.
But hosting this renewed Michigan State team, I think is going to be a lot of fun. Maryland is actually 8.5-point favorites, believe it or not.
Wow.
In this game. So, to me, that's a sucker bet. If I'm being
Seems
honest.
like it. It seems
I'll take
like
Michigan State 8.5 points all day long, but I still think Maryland does pull this one out. Steve, what's your take on the Terrapins hosting the Spartans this weekend?
I mean, you got 2 Big Ten teams that are middle of the pack, and Big Ten middle of the pack always usually puts on a good football game. So, you'll have your choice at 3:30 on Big Ten, depending on, I don't know how they're going to split the country, but it's Michigan State at Maryland or it's Eastern Michigan at Washington. So those are your two BTN games in the 3:30 window. So, but that goes to show you something of how the networks have changed at that 3:30 point, because that Michigan State Maryland game in past years might have actually been on a network, not BTN. Like it might have been up on, possibly like but now with ESPN not having the Big Ten, a game like that, because there's so much other big stuff on, like Fox has Baylor at Utah, NBC's got Northern Illinois at Notre Dame, and CBS has Iowa State and Iowa. So there's well, guess what? There's no slot for that game to go to a network besides BTN at that point. So once again, you're going to need to be flipping or have other means of you're going to have a lot of games to be watching at 3:30 that are going to be really good. So if you have significant others or family or friends that want you to go out to dinner early, like for you guys, you have an extra hour been out there in the central time zone because all these kick off at 2:30, but those of us on the East Coast, these games are coming down to the wire at 6:30 in the evening. You don't want to be going to dinner at that point, because I think there's going to be a lot of exciting football, and this game is going to be one of them.
Out here in Wisconsin, our supper clubs reign supreme, and if you want to get a decent old fashioned and get a table at a decent time, you got to be there by 4:30, 5 o'clock. So just saying.
Sorry.
But no, you got to beat grandpa and grandma to the table. It's it'd be fun. But the Big Ten game that I have my own twist towards is Kansas at Illinois. So there's weird history between these two schools. Traditional basketball powerhouses, right? And Bill Self went from Illinois to Kansas. You got all these kind of these little subplots to this game. Kansas now looking like a football-ish also school lately with Leipold as their coach. I mean, Buffalo fans know who he is. The Wisconsin guys know who he is. But he's doing good things there in Kansas. And they're heading into Champaign as 5.5-point favorites. But Brett Bielema is a Illini. Have something to say about that too, I think. This is a sneaky good game in the 6 o'clock slate or 7 o'clock Eastern slate. If you're, again, while you're at supper with the family, kind of glancing at your phone or at the TV in the corner, this is one that's going to be worth the watch, I think. This is the ticket price is reflective of this, $74 for a non-conference game in Champaign. Wow. You're doing pretty good. That's the cheapest ticket.
Wow.
So, definitely catching some attention there a little bit.
Yep.
But I guess I see Kansas still win this game, but I think that Bielema and the Illini do have some Big Ten pride they're going to try and live up to, especially at home.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I with me following kind of Buffalo sports a little bit, I do pull for the Bulls up there, when they're playing. And I was really sad to see the Leipold leave. I really do like him as a coach. I thought he was doing a great job turning Buffalo around up there. He was making them relevant. I think they played a bowl game under him. I think that was after Turner Gill had left. Well, right? Am I right on that timeline?
Correct.
It was Turner Gill, and then it was Leipold, and then So I really do. I liked. He was a good understudy of Turner Gill, and I actually think he's actually turning into a better coach than what Turner Gill is turning into be. So, I mean that's interesting. So at this point, I'll pull for Kansas just because that's where Leipold went. But that is an interesting game. It's interesting you brought that up because I wouldn't have thought of that being an interesting game. But the more you talk about it, I think it will be a pretty good game actually.
Yeah. I think I've always been a Bielema fan. So I will, once again, we get into these late, the 7 o'clock on, once again, there's a whole pile of games that are going to start, and I'll be intrigued to watch this one throughout the evening because I think it's, once again, as I said, first couple weeks, these ranked teams, it's numbers. I don't think it's reflective of the body of work yet. This game here will be a test for Kansas. I think it could be what's the line again, Ben?
That was 5.5 for Kansas.
See, you're within a touchdown. Yep. So I think it's going to be a really, really nice game. Now, talking about Buffalo, I don't know if you had this, they play at Missouri. So that's going to be a fun little one to watch. It's on the ESPN Plus side of things. So
I skipped past that one. That one's a 34.5-point line.
Hey, come on.
I'll tell you what. I'll take that 34 because Buffalo did not look bad last week.
Yeah.
Well, look, they have a good brand of defense. They have for a while. As Rick Lamack came from, right? So you have some history there as well.
Yeah.
I think Missouri still wins probably by 20, but I'll take 34 points though. My God.
Yeah. I will say Missouri, in my opinion, is overrated, by the way. It is top 10 team there. TJ mentioned before, Oregon's not a top 10 team. Missouri is not a top 10 team. It's going to show quickly in this revamped SEC.
Yes, it is.
But staying with the SEC note here, Tennessee at NC State, 10-point favorites.
They're not at NC State, though. They're playing in Charlotte, Ben. It's a neutral site.
Sorry. Yeah.
Real neutral.
The neutral adjacent site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's on the other side of the state from the triangle. It's not like right next door. So, but
that's fair. But look, say what we will here. The Carolina Panthers play in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the state of America state as well. So they want to make sure that South Carolina included too for some reason. No, look, Tennessee, another overrated team for me. NC State's one of those ACC bubble teams. They don't know how to take them. So they're pesky. The Wolfpack win games they shouldn't. They lose games they shouldn't. They're just a fun team to watch if you watch college football enough. They always have prospects on their team that's going to make it in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's kind of got the Josh Heupel benefit of the doubt right now, but I think he kind of caught lightning in the bottle with the team he inherited. And I really don't think that – I think he's overrated. He did well at UCF. Tennessee's definitely overrated right now. And I think NC State not only – covers the 10. I think they take this game at home and put Tennessee back in the place.
Wow.
But I guess anyone else, fire away, please.
I like that take. If I was picking this game, I mean, I'd be reluctant to pick against Tennessee here, but I like your call, and I can definitely see it happening. So, what the hey? Let's jump on your bandwagon there, and I'll take NC State in that one too.
Yep. I'm gonna go with an ACC team over a SEC team any day. I'll take. Yeah, the Wolfpack. I think the Wolfpack are gonna pull this one off.
Oh.
So, I have been well documented on our shows here in the past of my dislike for primetime and what he's done at Colorado. They go to Lincoln, a stadium that sells out even when the team might not win a game. This is a SEC passion level fan base in the middle of freaking nowhere. Yeah, Lincoln, I said it. You're nowhere. So when Nebraska is going to have primetime in Colorado in Lincoln this weekend, Nebraska is 7-point favorites with a 56.5 point over under on it. This is going to be good television. Shedeur Sanders, not going to they pulled it out last week. I don't know how they did, but I think this is where we see Nebraska try to stake at their back. They're not. Nebraska's still going to suck because they're Nebraska. But this is a game that they're going to beat a overrated Colorado team, in my opinion. Tickets going for 189 plus to go to this game right now. It's crazy. But guys, tell me what I'm missing here. What is Colorado going to do to prove me wrong? Or is it just Travis Hunter figures out how to prove me wrong?
Go ahead, Steve.
I've never been a Colorado bandwagon. I've from the first moment that Coach Prime stepped on that field for that first spring practice, which I watched because they made such a giant deal out of it. I don't know. I loved when he played sports. I was blown away the fact that he could do so well in football and baseball, but he has just evolved into something I don't aspire to ever be in my life. And, he's got Shedeur doing what he's doing, but I just think it's kind of one of those things where people tune in for the train wreck. And that's what 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC is going to be Saturday night. And a lot of people will be flipping over to that Tennessee-NC State game before you know it. So I think it's going to be a Nebraska win. I don't see where I don't. I mean, I don't.
No, I would agree with you. I think Nebraska wins this game. Prime is what he is. He's an entertainer. And the one thing he did do is he did bring, whether they're better or not, he brought relevance to Colorado.
He did.
And he's probably bringing attention and some players there as well. So good for that. I don't remember where I was hearing, talks of, Travis Hunter being the best player in college football and blah, blah, blah. And he may be, but has a Heisman winner ever played for a team that won 3 or 4 games? Because that's probably all they're going to win this year. Like that, he can't win the Heisman on a team like that, can he?
No. I think here's what I'll say for him. If he keeps pulling the Shohei Ohtani and football stuff out where he's playing both ways and he's leading the way in statistical categories on both sides of the ball, how do you not?
I know, I agree, but have you ever seen it?
Well,
there's a first for everything, Troy.
Yeah, there is.
If you can play Iron Man in college, something's wrong with one side of the ball. They've got you playing both ways.
Yep.
Just throwing that out there too. The last game I want to hit here, guys, before we head into the NFL, which is what we really want to talk about anyway. Mississippi State Bulldogs heading to Arizona State. Arizona State's 5.5 point favorites. Levy, the new coach of Mississippi State, had a good showing week 1 here. This, to me, is a sneaky good late game. If you want to stay up late and watch some football Saturday night, this is not a bad beer buzz game to watch. It's going to be entertaining. There's going to be points scored. And you can say what you want, but Mississippi State and Arizona State still are decent brands in college football world. Mm-hmm. And it should be a decent overall showing. Steve, you disagree, or you just don't care? I'm not sure
I disagree. I disagree because there's 2 games I'm going to be watching it at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, and that's not either of them. The two I'm going to be watching are Texas Tech and Washington State on Fox, and Boise State at Oregon with my freaking Peacock membership that now I have to use for everything. I mean, Boise State almost lost last week. I mean, everybody sings the praises of Boise State, and then they almost was a Georgia Southern. I think they were playing. I was sitting there. I watched most of that game. I mean, I those are the two I'm going to be focused on. Not to say that Mississippi State Arizona State's not going to be a bad game, but I think that Texas Tech, Washington State, once again, the dissolved Pac-12 gets a game on Fox somehow. But that one and, Boise State, Oregon, though. I mean, people are ranting and raving that game is on Peacock. And I can understand why, because I think that is going to be Boise State's going to give Oregon a run for their money. I'm just saying right now.
So you're going to give them the 19.5 points the Vegas line.
Yeah. I think it's going to be. I think Boise State may keep them to within a touchdown or 10 points. I don't think it's going to be as big of a spread as Vegas thinks.
Okay. Troy, what do you think?
No, I like the Mississippi State Arizona State game. I agree with you there, Ben. Maybe a little biasy here. I've always kind of been a little bit of a Mississippi State fan ever since Eric Moulds went there. Yep. I do like the Oregon Boise State game too, though. That is very interesting. Where's that played at, by the way?
In Eugene.
Okay.
Eugene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Oregon still sneaks it out, but I agree with you, Steve. I think Boise State's going to make it interesting.
Yep.
I think Oregon State might only win that game by a touchdown, or Oregon, might only win that game by a touchdown.
Yep.
What was the other game you said, Steve? Texas Tech and who? Washington State.
Washington State. Yep.
Washington State.
It doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. I'm not really.
I'm sorry. I'm intrigued by this pack. Whatever.
Yeah.
Just seeing how they play against this, because they're playing mostly Mountain West teams, except for these, games. There's, and then the funny thing is, and we'll probably catch this next week, but Oregon State and Washington State are both on the 14th, and they're both scheduled at the same time. So talk about a way they scheduled it this time. So
interesting.
Yep. Preview of coming attractions, Ben.
Go Cougs. But yeah, so moving on to the NFL, we are at the half in Kansas City.
We should be tied up.
They are. And
no, I said they should be.
What's the score right now?
It's 13-10.
13-10 Kansas City.
Tucker missed that field goal.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Sorry.
My fantasy kicker missed a field goal.
The guy who never misses, no less.
That's
right.
What you get for picking a Raven, Steve.
I got Derrick Henry too, so I know.
Isn't that brutal? That's the one brutal thing about fantasy, man. Son of a gun. Well, you don't want to pick teams like I got Waddle on one of my teams. Like, how much that freaking ate me to do that?
Yeah. Adam Thielen will drive me nuts. I wouldn't draft him. We would just eat our lunch. I'm just like, yeah. But, no. So tonight, I think that right now this game has been as advertised. It's a good kind of heavyweight battle, kind of trading blows here a little bit.
Yep.
But I want to call out, you mentioned before the comment we had earlier in the show, and the kickoff rule is one of those things that we're seeing adopted from spring football. I think it's complicated.
It started in the XFL.
I also understand its intention. This one makes more sense than my next question after done with this one. But what do you guys think of the new kickoff rule? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Where are you?
I want to see a little bit more, but so far I'm okay with it. I don't like all the here's what I don't like about it. And I think we might have discussed this in our little group that we have at one point a few weeks ago. I don't like that it takes out the surprise onside kick.
Yep.
I don't like that B, you can't do an onside kick unless you're losing in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Right.
You have to announce it,
Yep.
and then nobody even said, does it just go back to the old formation at that point? I guess it does.
Yep.
I don't like that part of it. If it's a kickoff, it's a kickoff. Why are we at different formations for different types of kickoffs? That doesn't make sense to me. So I think that needs to get hashed out. At that point, I'd rather go to what was discussed a few years ago of maybe we just give them a 4th and 15.
Yeah.
And if they make that 4th and 15, then they get the ball back and they move on down the field. Something like that, rather than I don't like that. I don't think that's going to play out well when you have teams that are losing and then they're setting up for the onside kick and you're like, now why are they lining up different again? It's the general fan that doesn't really understand. It's going to be like, why are they lining up like now? And so I don't like that part of it. I do like that it brought the excitement back into it, right? Like, we're probably going to see more returns than we've ever seen before, at least since the 90s.
Right.
And that's an important part of the game, and it's very much been lost because it was just a ceremonial play for the most part. Yep. It was, somebody kicking it down the field, the guy catches it, takes a knee, or doesn't, and hands it to the ref, and the guys go out to the 25-yard line.
Yep.
And now, and you guys will maybe have to jump in on for me here because I don't remember exactly how this works either. If you kick the ball and it lands in the end zone for a touchback, it comes out to the 30. But if it lands before the end zone and rolls in and then gets a touchback, then it comes out to the 25. Is that right?
I believe you're right, but I don't know. I'll be lying if I told you. This is what I'm saying. To me, this is
that's what I mean. There's too many weird things about it.
The nuances are too extreme.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I think that overall the XFL gave us some good ideas. I think the 4th and 15 or 4th, where it's going to be, instead of an onside kick, makes more sense.
I agree.
But the kickoff rule, I'm in favor of the idea of trying to make it safer. I can support that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't love the ripples. If you have the 4th and 15 rule, then this is fine. Then go ahead, do what you're doing, and we can figure out bouncing in versus going or landing in or landing past.
See, I don't understand the difference. If it goes in the end zone and it's a touchback, what does it matter where it lands?
Right.
Like, bring it out to the 30 either way. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
well, I remember as a kid, it was a 20, right? When we were growing up, as a 20-yard line.
It was 20. Yeah. Well, now they keep moving it up because they want more scoring. We know why they're doing that, but
right. But the rule that's got my gears grinding tonight, guys, is this the illegal formation or what are they?
That was crazy.
I mean,
did you see that at all, Steve?
Yeah. There's too many moving. I mean, I want to say this in a bad way, but there's too many moving parts of how this is, because that's what the big thing has been when I've watched the analysis of this so far, is that I guess in the UFL, when the ball was caught, they would blow a whistle to tell everybody, hey, ball's good, ball's live, you can now engage, because
you're talking about the kickoff yet.
What's that?
I'm sorry. You're talking about the kickoff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He was talking about. I don't know if you saw the beginning of the Ravens' first drive.
No, I didn't see it. Okay. Sorry.
They got called for 3 illegal formations on that drive.
Oh, jeez.
Because the linemen were lined up too far off back the ball.
Too far behind the center's backside. So you got to stare at your center's butt.
Yep.
More than you already do.
Yep.
I mean, as a lineman myself, it ticks me off, man. Like, they keep clipping our wings to begin with. Then you're sitting there and say, I got to sit there and stare at my dude's butt to make sure I'm not too far out of line. Give me a break. Like, let me hit somebody. I just want to smack somebody.
Yeah,
let me hit someone.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lined up too far outside of the formation, or you're not, like, but sorry to I just wanted to bring up about the kickoff. That the one thing they mentioned is that they did say that the receiving team has a little bit of a disadvantage because they're facing away from the ball being received when the ball is caught. And they're saying that they've got to be very careful about when they're engaging, because that's an offside play if they jump the reception. And they're saying that there's not really anything that they're using as a signal, like the referee, like saying, ball in play or something. They're just having to kind of listen for some kind of cue, or they're just getting their what's hit by the other team, because that team, the kicking team, can see the ball get caught. So that's the only thing that that's my concern with that.
I mean, we'll go back to that for a quick second, because you brought up a good point there, and I have a good question. Is I'm sure there's a referee that's lined up somewhere watching those lines when they're ready to catch the ball.
Yeah.
So how hard would it be for a referee just to be in the middle of them? He's watching the ball get caught, and when it's caught, he drops his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they know, hey, it's time to go. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, this is it's just crazy.
Like, the guy whose arm moves too slow, they're gonna pick apart. Man, he was slower. He's trying to make sure we.
Okay, but it's going to be the same for both teams. They're both going to see the arm drop. You know what I mean? Like,
since when NFL fan base has been irrational about being the same for both teams?
It's never
right. So, I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? We're all whiny babies, and we love our team and think everyone else hates them. So,
oh, I thought we were going to get a return there.
But going into this, though, I'm going to skip past even tomorrow's game, even though it's my team's game, and screw the Eagles. But going into some games that I mentioned in our chat earlier, I think do have some spice to them. I know we have some different opinions here as well.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh at Atlanta, to me, is a game that I want to watch. Yep. And obviously, Steve, your Pittsburgh shirt tells why you want to watch it. But I want to tell you that from my standpoint, I don't have a dog in this fight besides not liking the Steelers, but even beyond that, I don't hate them that much. I'd want to watch them lose. I look at this and see a game where we're going to get a feeling for Justin Fields, Russell Wilson.
Yep. You
have Kirk Cousins in the Atlanta offense. Will Drake London be used properly? Will Kyle Pitts be used properly? What's going to happen here now that Marco Emanuel is in control in Atlanta? I think there's a lot here that's it can be unpacked. It's going to tell us more what to expect the rest of the season.
And I'm sorry if you mentioned it or not, but another good point there is, I mean, Kirk didn't play all preseason, right? What does that guy look like coming out? You know?
Yep.
Well, right. And Bijan has been, I don't know what you guys, but Bijan's been top 5 in every draft I've been in so far for fantasy football.
Yep.
People expect a lot out of the guy. And he had some games last year where he touched the ball, 5-7 times?
Yep.
So you have to assume the new coaching is going to do better than that for him.
You would hope.
Yep.
But I look at the game, I see a lot of intrigue.
Yep.
Troy, you kind of oppose this. This is kind of boring.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't say that. You said top 5, and to me, this is one of the ones where I put on the borderline of top 5 or not. It's right there in that mix. But and again, this might be my bias kicking in. I'd rather see Jim Harbaugh's team play. You know what I mean? Like that to me, that's a little bit more intriguing. I want to see what they come out and look like. I want to see, what his brand of football looks like, and how that offensive line looks, because that's all he's been talking about all off season is his offensive line. And but Steve sold me on something here, and I didn't even know about this until he brought it up in our chat today. Now Russ is dealing with what did you say, a calf injury?
Calf injury. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, that really does make this interesting all of a sudden, because if Russ doesn't play and Justin goes in there and does pretty good, now what? Now that whole shebang where they thought they were going to sit on Russ or sit on Justin all year and let him learn the system and then possibly send him to an extension at the end of the season and him be their long-term cheap quarterback, might not happen, because maybe Justin might do well and then they're going to have to extend him and pay a lot more than they wanted to.
Yep.
Or we're going to have one of these things where it's neither quarterback was either what we expected him to be, and we're kind of jumping back and forth all year long.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be an interesting test, because I don't think the Steelers truly know their identity yet. There's been a lot of positive talk in town about Arthur Smith and what he's bringing to the offense. So even though everyone is still wondering what the final ultimate pieces of the puzzle are going to look like at 1:00 on Sunday, whether it will be Fields or Wilson, and what the rest of the core looks like, it's kind of the Ayuk thing is off in the distance now. I mean, he's staying with San Francisco, so that piece, possibly coming in and bolstering the wide receiving core won't happen. And there's not really been any kind of talk or rumors of someone else coming in to supplement the room that they've got. Yep. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, with Deontay now down in Carolina. Does Pickens have the mettle to be, the wide receiver one, or what's going to happen? So, I mean, it's interesting. I've been watching the 506. If you folks don't look at 506 Sports, it's phenomenal to see what markets are getting what games. There's a whole bunch of markets though that went off of the Pittsburgh Atlanta game today and all shifted to the Minnesota New York Giants game.
Ouch.
I don't know what they got. I mean, Fox choices at the 1:00 are Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Minnesota Giants, Tennessee, Chicago, or Carolina, New Orleans. And if a whole bunch of people left the Pittsburgh, Atlanta game and said the Minnesota Giants game is a better choice, I don't know what that says.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not good.
I'll
I'll come right out and say this. I am not a fan of Russell Wilson at all.
Yep.
But here's what I will say. When was he at his best in Seattle? When he had a great defense,
yep,
and a good running game.
Yep.
And if Pittsburgh can figure out that running game, we already know they got a good defense.
Yep.
You're not asking Russ to do too much then.
Yep.
So that is the recipe for them to have some success.
Yep.
But I
have to question this though. Arthur Smith is the other part of the storyline I forgot about, which is actually the best point you could have made for this one. His first game as OC for Pittsburgh is in Atlanta, where he just got fired from.
How about that? Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
I mean, look, I feel for George Pickens. He's now in Drake London territory.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonnu Smith didn't follow Art for a change. He actually went down to Miami instead. But who's going to be the Jonnu Smith for Art in Pittsburgh?
Freiermuth.
Is it though? I mean, you would think so, but
I think Freiermuth has a sneaky good season. To be honest.
But the problem I have there is that he had Kyle Pitts at his disposal, who was clearly the better option, and he looked past it for a guy he, for whatever reason, likes more. And so Freiermuth, I agree, is good.
That's a good point.
He's a very good tight end. But who is Art going to decide he likes a little bit more and he's going to play over? Because Art Smith has proven to me that he has favorites, he plays them, and he is too smart for his own good or just too plain stupid to figure it out when it comes to running an offense in the NFL at this point.
That's a fair point. I didn't think about it that way. He didn't utilize Kyle Pitts like he should have. That's a weak roughing the passer call. What are we doing?
Maybe on the other side of the coin, maybe he's learned his lesson, and this is his chance to kind of. I have faith in Arthur Smith coming out of the gate. Because of what we've been dealing with over the last couple seasons. I mean, you're following up Matt Canada. The bar is extremely low right now.
I mean,
that's all I'm saying. There's not much you can do to take the bar lower than it was set when Matt Canada was fired.
Yeah.
So Arthur Smith's upside is way outpacing if he makes a couple flubs or something happens in week one. If it's a consistent problem, then maybe by midseason we're saying, did they pick the right guy to bring in? But if it takes them a week or two to get things figured out, especially with Wilson nursing an injury, where they've got to say, what are we doing here in our quarterback? Are we going to let Fields go out there and then let him run with the job at this point? Or is this going to be one of those, well, hey, Russ is going to be in there when he's better again? I don't know, but I think that by halftime we'll know, because the preseason did not show well for the Steelers. Preseason was not good for the Steelers this year.
Yeah,
and let's see.
And that's what I was going to bring up. Their offensive line, like some Steeler fans I talked to, and I don't know where you stand on this, Steve, but they're sold. They think their offensive line's going to be fine, no big deal. Yeah. But I don't think so. I'm not sold on that offensive line at all. No. And I know they got some good pieces there, but for whatever reason, they're not gelling.
It's as I said, give me till halftime of week one. I'll by halftime of Sunday, I'll have a better read of where we are, because once again, the question is, did they just need the preseason to figure out where all the pieces fit together and how to run the playbook? Right. Were they just using it as we got 3 games that we can just, who cares if we go 0-3? We've got to try things out. We've got to put plays in there. We've got to see how people react and respond. with Arthur Smith being the new OC, or were they that discombobulated out of the gate and it's going to continue into start of this next game?
Yep.
So rolling the next game with another overhyped situation, in my opinion. Soldier Field will be the host of the Titans and Bears game, and the hype train is looming large in Chicago right now. Everyone wants to talk about them being a quote-unquote top 5 defense. Okay. And they want to talk about this offense being high-powered. Look, make no mistake. I'm not arguing DeAndre Swift's talent. He's a talented running back. I'm not arguing Roma Dunze's talent. I'm not arguing even DJ Moore's talent. Keenan Allen, I might start to debate you a little bit because he's getting old. He's got a lot of wear on those tires. But Caleb Williams has done nothing to impress me to this point. He's had some flashy plays.
He had one good drive, right?
Right. But I'm going to say this one more time, and I'll try to not say it again. He had one of the best, most sought-after coaches in Lincoln Riley to play for in college. He had USC. You are in Southern California where everybody wants to be, to have that spotlight, to be in that position. You have 5 stars all across the board playing with you, and you can't help lead that team to more than 7 wins. It's not a quarterback stat. I agree, Troy, but it is indicative because some of those games were lost by Caleb Williams, a la Notre Dame.
Yep.
There are pieces here that Bears fans will just conveniently forget what happened down the road for them in South Bend when talking about Caleb Williams as a player. And Bears fans, I'm sorry to tell you, this is not his coming out party. This is going to be a reality check. When the lowly Titans give you a scare, you still win. But they're going to give you a scare this weekend on your home turf. And you guys are going to be chanting Green Bay sucks or F Green Bay, whatever you guys want to chant after the game again. That's all you guys can focus on. Yeah, I live rent-free in your head, Chicago. I know we do. But anyway, that's another story. No, look, this game to me still has the allure because of that. Because of just like Coach Prime gets attention, I equate Coach Prime and the Bears offense / Caleb Williams being in that same hype train mode that I just want to watch the plane crash. Let me just see that fire light and watch everything burn. But it's not about me, guys. Troy, you said this game you weren't so sure of. What would make you want to watch it? Let me ask you that question that way.
I mean, not even to put the Bears down, just for the Titans to have some sort of moxie to them, because I don't. I mean, I think this is a no-win situation. Obviously, even speaking for the Bears, because even if the Bears come out and win this game, well, they're supposed to win that game. The Titans are going to be bad this year. But if they lose that game, like that, maybe we're not what we thought we were. Blah blah blah, and so that's going to make things interesting. What would make me watch it? I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I guess it would. Let's put it this way: I wouldn't put that game on to start. It would have to be something where I'm watching it on Red Zone, and all of a sudden it's like a 31-30 game, and they're going back and forth at each other. Then I'd probably want to sneak it over and see what's going on over there. But nothing really grabs me about that game. I have a big dislike for Caleb Williams. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he holds himself. I don't like his arrogance and his cockiness, and I don't like that he thinks he has earned the right to come out to Michael Jordan's song. Like just a lot of it. Like I don't get it. And the other thing is, if I were Justin Fields, going back to Pittsburgh here, like I'd be pretty pissed about this whole situation because they brought all these weapons and stuff in for Caleb Williams, a rookie quarterback, but Justin Fields is there 3 years, and didn't get any help. Like, what is going on here? Like, what? Like, did they not like Justin? Did he like sleep with the GM's wife, or what happened? Like,
I think Virginia would have welcomed the visitor, but overall, the only fight you're going to see from the Titans overall this year is one they had in practice with Mason Rudolph and Will Levis.
Yeah,
I think that when your own quarterback room's got that much discord in it, it's going to be hard to see a mayonnaise in his coffee drinking quarterback against the polished nail quarterback for Chicago. It's just a weird combination for me. But look, it's still the Bears. It's still the Titans. There's still pieces that bring me in. Steve, what's your take on this game?
My take is, how in the heck are the Bears a 4.5 point favorite?
Right.
I mean, that's what just I think is blowing my mind, is that with the fact that, I mean, as I put in our chat earlier, Brian Callahan is a Chicago person, and this is his first game as a Titans coach going back to the Windy City. But the fact that the line in Vegas, BetMGM, is saying it's a 4.5 point favorite, less than a touchdown. Like, if the hype train in Chicago is real, everybody's saying that like Tennessee may win 3 or 4 games this year, and Vegas is saying that they're going to hold them within a touchdown. I'm just, I may be watching for that reason. I mean, I won't put any money on the game, but it's like, does Vegas know something we don't? Because more often than not, somehow they're right. And I want to see what Vegas thinks is going to help Tennessee keep this that close.
ESPN bet at the 3.5. So yeah, this is something's there. Now, yeah, a game I think we can all agree will be worth watching though is Houston at Indianapolis.
Yes,
that'll be a good one.
I think there's a lot here to see. I've been critical of Richardson in the past. I want to see if I'm right or wrong. I think Houston, we want to see if they were a flash in the pan or if they're legit, right? So
I guess so many weapons, it's hard for them not to be, unless CJ has a big regression. Yeah. I mean, that's really the only way I could see them not being legit. There's so many weapons there. I really liked Richardson last year. Coming out, I thought he was the guy that had the most potential out of that class. And I'll stand by that fact. I still think he has the most potential. But as of right now, CJ is that guy. He's the guy in that draft that everybody wanted. So this is a time for Richard to make his mark. But the problem is Houston has so much more at their disposal than what Indianapolis does. So I think Indianapolis needs to get back to that brand of defense they had a couple years ago that was really keeping them in games and stuff. And if they can get back to that, they're going to be in a lot of these games. JT has to get back to what he was. He definitely was not the same last year. He was off a little bit. No, I where's this game at?
That's in Indy.
It's in Indy?
Indy.
Okay, with that being said, I think I'll go with Houston just by 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say like 30-24 or something like that.
Steve?
Oh yeah. I am so frustrated that this game has to go up against the Steelers game, because I want to be able to focus on this game. And what really blows my mind is how few of the country is going to see this game. It's Indianapolis and a little bit of surrounding. It's pretty much all of Texas, and that is it. Everybody else is going to have to make sure that they've got other means to watch this game, because most of the country will not be seeing this. So, which kind of frustrates me, because there's so many. I'm looking at the predictions from some of the writers. 21-20 Texans, 27-21 Texans, 31-28 Texans, 24-22 Texans. I mean, this is going to be a phenomenal opening week game. So I want to see CJ do what. This is his time. As I said, I think Houston's got a good shot at their division, and to see the two division leaders that we're saying at the end of the season match up in week 1 is going to be a test. If it's a close game, we know we got a good one. If it's more of 10 points one way or the other, we're going to have to say, well, who's got what going on, and is it going to continue for the rest of the season?
All right. Well, seeing that division, Jacksonville goes to Miami. This game has some sneaky appeal. Again, Jacksonville disappointed last year. They really faded down the stretch. People had high hopes for them last year. They just didn't live up to them. Changed a few things around. Trevor Lawrence is now in the official prove you're not a bust mode. And Miami's got their hype. Again, their hype is up high now too. They are favored by many to win the division this year. But where do you guys fall on this one? I mean, this is a 3.5-point line. So Vegas is telling us that Jacksonville's going to play with Miami in Miami. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Steve.
I think there's a major question mark right now for the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey is questionable as of today. Let's see what happens. It's 2 straight days he didn't practice. So the question is, are they just letting him rest to bring him out for the game? Or is there something deeper that's going to hold him out on Sunday? But I think there's always a good time when the Jags play the Dolphins. We got to see what Trevor Lawrence looks like, because as some of us said during our predictions and previews, the Jaguars could be a sneaky team, but I think that it's going to depend on how the Jags perform. And it's mostly, as you can hear, I've got the same theme with a lot of my thoughts. Let's see how they look coming out of the gate, like in the first half of their games, because if something doesn't look right, we know we got something that's going to fester throughout the season. But I think in this game, Jacksonville's got a good, I don't know what the line is on this one, but I think Jacksonville's got a chance in this one. They really do. I'd like to see the Jags beat the Dolphins on Sunday.
Troy?
So I'll go back to last year's predictions before the season even started. And everybody remembers Trevor Lawrence coming off that big comeback win over the Chargers in the playoffs. But they were down 30-3 or something like that. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was some sort of absurd amount. And everybody's like, oh, Trevor Lawrence, he looked amazing. Second half, 4 touchdown passes, blah, 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 whatever. And what I kept bringing up to everybody was, why were they in that hole to begin with? Because he threw 4 picks in the first half. So yep. I'm not sold on Jacksonville. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I don't see the appeal there. I really don't. I think they have some great pieces on defense. I do like their defense. So I think if they're going to win this game, it's going to be because they make a turnover or 2 on defense, and that keeps them in this. ETN is a great piece. Gabe Davis, I've seen that guy up close and personal so many times. That guy was great at when the play broke down, he gets open. That's what he was so good at. He was Josh Allen would look to him when the play would break down, then he'd get open. He'd sneak behind a safety or something like that and get open. And I don't think Lawrence has that same ability like Allen did. He has similar talents, but not the same. And so I don't know how well Gabe's going to mold into that offense. I was surprised the contract they gave him. I think he was overpaid. Who is considered their number 1 right now? Is it Kirk?
Yeah. Evan Ingram had a big year last year at the tight end position. Ryan Thomas was brought in. I think Kirk is technically the number 1, but I think you're going to see Ryan Thomas, Kirk, and Davis taking a lion's share of those catches. I think ETN will be used more in the screen game than it was last year. You got a questionable at the top wide receiver core, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see the appeal in Jacksonville at all, and I'm going to stand by that comment. I think they'll sneak out some games. I think they'll be tough for a lot of people. But I don't see Lawrence taking the next step. I think he was way overpaid. I don't think they should have made that extension like they did. And I'll take Miami to cover here.
Okay. 3-point spread. You're taking whoa.
Well, I'm just saying I don't see the upset happening, and I think they'll cover those 3 points. So I'm going to say I don't know. For some reason, Miami always jumps out at the first game of the season. They always seem to have a big game. So what the heck? Let's go I'll say they triple that. I'm going to go 40-27.
Okay.
You telling people to run
the. You're going to get a 40 burger dropped on. Got it. Okay.
Telling people to run to the windows, Troy. Bet responsibly, folks, but run to the windows, you're saying.
Take that alternate spread, plus 12.
Whew. Well, speaking of crazy, Harbaugh's got his first NFL head coaching game in a while, and you got the Raiders coming into LA to play the Chargers. I sleep on this game. Troy, you liked it. Sell me, man.
Well, I like just the fact that Harbaugh's back, and I want to see that. I think especially that first game, it's going to be a little intriguing to see what happens there, how the team looks. The Chargers have been notorious, no matter who the coach is, for falling apart late in the season when things don't matter. And, I remember how many seasons with Phillip Rivers and who was the head coach there at that time? Was that Marty? Was that Marty back then?
Marty Schottenheimer in the beginning with Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, and that eventually went over to
I can't remember who it was.
LT. Who was the coach after that, though? There was another competent coach that was there.
Yeah, but my point is, they were going 13-3, 12-4. I think they even had a 14-2 season in there one time or something. And then they lose first game of the playoffs. Like it was, they never made that 1 year. Didn't they make the AFC Championship when Rivers tore his ACL? I think that was it. I'm pretty sure it might have been. It might have been the Patriots undefeated season. Maybe. I don't remember.
Norv Turner. Just forgetting, by the way.
Oh, Norv Turner. Okay. But my point is, I think that Harbaugh will be able to change a little bit of that culture. Now, the thing is will it take? If I remember correctly, his first year in San Francisco was pretty rough, but then that second year they made a big jump. So maybe this year isn't the year, but I'm still excited to see him. I'm still excited to see him back in the NFL. How long will it last? I don't know. He seems to wear out people after a little while.
Wears out khakis and wears out people. Yeah. Here's where I'm coming against you a little bit on this one. The Chargers, though, are the second team in the city. The Rams have the first preference there. The Chargers are kind of a guest in the Rams' house. Is how it feels.
Yeah,
as an outsider looking in. So what Harbaugh's not used to is being second fiddle to anybody. At Michigan is king. That's Michigan State's a nice piece. People love Michigan State, but Michigan, don't kid yourself, owns the state of Michigan for college football.
Yep.
San Francisco, even with the Raiders there, still owned the Bay Area, as it were.
Yep.
When he was there as well.
Yep.
I'm maybe making too big of a deal out of this, but I feel like Harbaugh's got to respond to not having a consistent, passionate fan base behind him, which he had somewhat in Santa Clara because San Fran fans don't show up when the team's not good. But, when you're looking at this, I'm curious how he'll handle away fans outnumbering his fans at home games sometimes. Like, how is that going to play to him and what his style of football and coaching really is? He is a high-energy coach. Mm-hmm. Despite my dislike for the man, the guy brings the heat, and he makes you want to get excited. But I don't know. Steve, what do you see in this game? What are you looking for?
Well, I see another insane line. Chargers -3.
Right.
The Raiders are the wild card in this game because I think we've got a big idea of what the Chargers are bringing, but the Raiders. Here's the quarterback experiment in Vegas. The Raiders, they're either, once again, as we said, they're either going to be this like scapegoat of the division or they're going to be the spoiler in this division. And that's what I'm intrigued to see on Sunday is which side of the Raiders show up, but with the game being in LA, that's where, if this game was in Vegas, I think that the Raiders would probably pull it out. But I think the Harbaugh magic is going to give the Chargers the edge in this game. And I still think the Raiders are figuring out their identity at this point. But, once again, Vegas seems to know, the odds makers seem to know things that we mere mortals don't. So I think it's going to be another game that's going to be fascinating to watch, and maybe one that coming down the stretch, we're going to be focusing our eyes on seeing what happens at the end.
Who just popped that in there?
Well, I absolutely did. That was a beautiful line. Beautiful.
The Raiders
line.
going to be the scapegoat or the spoiler in this division. That's mark it down. Mark it down.
Yeah.
That was well said.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And what did they have Gardner Minshew starting this game? Is that who they listed as their starter? Okay,
They do.
Doesn't that guy? I mean, speaking of the Dolphins always starting hot, doesn't Gardner Minshew always seem to start the season hot? Like,
look, Gardner Minshew is the Brad Marchand of the NFL. Like that dude,
Brad Marchand.
like,
so he's dirty.
if you're a hockey fan, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, I'm sorry. But like, it's just that guy who, if he's not your guy, you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't look right. He doesn't really play right, but he's still somehow good. You're just like, what? Just pisses you off. But he just has that like swagger of a guy who's I don't know. He is an enigma, and that's where Brad Marchand's the best I can think of for a parallel.
You know what would be perfect, and this is never going to happen because the Chargers are obviously committed to Herbert at this point. But I think Minshew and Harbaugh would be freaking awesome together.
Oh, it'd be a riot. It'd be an absolute riot.
So let me throw this out here real quick. I Googled Gardner Minshew as we're talking. 4 topics that came out from 4 different sources. Raiders liking aura of Gardner Minshew. He's running the show. Offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Gardner Minshew's leadership qualities jumped out right away. The team is ready to follow him. On the other side, could Gardner Minshew be the first quarterback benched this season? Many believe that the Las Vegas Raiders have one of the worst quarterback situations in the NFL.
Yeah. So with that being said, why bench him? Because what do you move him over to? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, you've got people there saying the teammates and the coaches are saying this guy's got the swagger, this guy's got the aura. People want to be part of what he's got, what he's selling, and then you've got other people saying they got problems. We could see him on the bench pretty early in the season.
Yeah. It's not like they got Stetson Bennett waiting in the wings, this amazing 37-year-old rookie behind him,
Isn't that kind of the whole thing, though, when it comes to inside versus outside noise? The difference I heard when you're making those references, everyone in the building seems to be behind the guy.
Yep.
And I'll give him that vote of confidence. Like, he's just a Mississippi hippie, dude. Like, he's out here living his best life from an air raid offense in the deep South growing up, his dad coaching him, and he's doing what he's doing. I mean, good on him. Like, I can't explain it, but I can say that despite my feelings of like he'll tick you off. I don't know. The underdog cheering side of me wants to cheer for the guy.
Yep.
But it's just that spot of he's playing for the Raiders, man. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But going to a different game, though, with other quarterback issues, the Cowboys and the Browns, to me, is wildly fascinating.
Yep.
Will the Browns have a happy ending, or won't they?
Right. Sean Watson's Browns' happy ending for Browns fans. But no, so, look, I said before in our preview show, talk about the season, I think this is the beginning of discord being sown into Dallas. So I think that the Browns defense is going to smother the Cowboys. In fact, there's still a conversation that CeeDee Lamb may not play. That's a big difference for me as well. I think the Browns, again, going on a limb here, I think they cover the 2.5 points. So, but the Browns, I think, do win this game at home, and Browns fans are happy after week 1. And Cowboys fans are asking, who are them boys? Steve, what do you think?
I'm more intrigued by the over-under. 42.5. If you're talking about a Cowboys or a Browns defense smothering Dak Prescott, Are they going to reach that number, or is this going to be a lower scoring game?
40 and a half, yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, this is a test for both quarterbacks. Let's put it that way. Because they're not going up against slouch defenses for either team in week one. So it's going to be a chance to see who's got the medal, who did their work in the preseason. And I mean, I think if Dallas loses this game, McCarthy's seat that the Heat starts week one. I think it'll last the season, but I think losing this game starts the McCarthy needs to, Jerry Jones will be looking for new blood for next season.
Can we call this the Brandon Whedon Bowl? Is that fair? Troy, what's your take on this game?
Another old rookie quarterback.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Dallas lose some pieces. They did. I still like their defense as well. One of you said 42 and one of you said 40. What is the line on that game?
The 2.5 is the line. 40 and a half is the over under.
Yeah.
40.
I got 42 and a half for my over under.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I think I like the under there, to be honest. I think this is going to be a defensive battle.
Yep.
The one thing I'm not sold on with the Cowboys is their running back room. Like, I don't know. Like, Zeke, they went back to Zeke, and both of the backups I don't think are good. Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn, I don't think either of those are good. Like, I'm not sure what they were thinking there.
There's a reason they signed Dalvin Cook to the practice squad.
That's right. They did do that. I forgot. Yep. But still, I mean, he lost a step. I mean, he wasn't the same guy. So I don't know. I like the under here. I still think the Cowboys sneak this game out, though. I don't think Deshaun Watson's anything. I think he had a good few years, and he had DeAndre Hopkins, but yeah, give me Dallas and it's outright. They're underdogs, right? Dallas is the underdogs in this game. Yeah, I'll take Dallas. I'll take Dallas to outright win, and I'll take the under. And I'll even give me that 40 or whatever it is. I'll go the under on that 40 and a half. So I'll say Dallas wins this game. Say 20-16.
Hey, your favorite running back's taking off right now. So it's hard. But no,
it's coming back though, isn't it? What's the flag?
It is. The flip side of this game and the lines we're looking at is the Lions hosting the Rams. Now, I've also gone on here, made very clear my thoughts on the Rams this year. I think the Rams are really bad. A lot of people disagree with me on this one, and I understand it, but I just disagree. I think there's a lot more faith being put in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua than I'm ready to put in. And Kyren Williams, I don't trust the Rams running back to save my life anyway. But look, 52.5 for the over on this one. Like, that to me has to have Dan Campbell just pissed off.
I would imagine.
Yep.
Like, that's insulting if I'm Dan Campbell. He's assuming they're going to say that Jahmyr Gibbs goes off for 7 touchdowns. But, I mean, it's just, look, the Lions are going to win this game. I think they're going to win it going away. The 4.5 points, you could give them 10 points. I'll still bet for them.
Nice.
So I think the Lions are going to destroy the Rams in this game. And Dan Campbell will give you'll like that kind of quote to go back at him with that 52.5.
No kneecaps.
But what do you guys? I think you guys have a little higher praise of the Rams than I do. What do you guys see in this game? Is it close?
I mean, that 52.5 seems so high.
Yeah, it does.
Again, like Steve said a few times here, Vegas knows what they're doing. They're usually pretty smart with that thing. Yeah. But I'll still take the under for whatever reason. Usually in the beginning of the seasons, games like this, as we're seeing even tonight with the Ravens and the Chiefs, they're usually a little low scoring. Teams are feeling each other out yet. Things, you know what I mean? Usually, if you get a big scoring game in week one, it's a blowout. It's one team that has 40 and the other team has 10 or something like that. You know what I mean? So I will take the under here. I'm I see this being a lot closer than you do, Ben. I'll take the under, but I think the Lions will win, but I'm going to take the Rams to cover. So I think this is just going to be a field goal game. Do you have it at 3.5? Because that's what I'm seeing, 3.5.
I have 4.5 from ESPN bet.
Okay, but yeah, I think this is a field goal game. Maybe 24-21, 27-24, something like that.
Okay. Steve?
All I'm saying is that the schedule makers gave NBC, like, the fact that we're talking about a game in Detroit in week 1, Sunday night prime time. I mean, when have we said that in recent memory?
Yeah,
that NBC kicks off their Sunday night slate in Detroit with a game that has a lot of meaning. I mean, the as we've all been saying in our previews and looks ahead to the season over the summer, the Lions have got something going there in Detroit. This is not, a flash in the pan now. Dan Campbell's got it going. And, I think that them getting that recognition when the schedule was made to say, you're going to get the marquee game on Sunday night to start the season at home says something. And I think Detroit's going to show up. I mean, yeah, the Rams, Aaron Donald now being retired changes things for the Rams because, he was a major part of their defense. But I think, you're right. I mean, if we get to 52, it's going to be a shootout. It would be a fun game to watch if that happens, but that means the defenses on both sides, which aren't bad, are not performing. But that means that the quarterbacks on both sides, because this is the flip game. The quarterbacks that were traded, they're now back playing in the teams they used to play. Stafford's now, back in Detroit. So I mean, it's just.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm the only person that doesn't have the game on in another screen or something. So.
I can't help myself. Isaiah Likely just looked like Sterling Sharp in that play. Unreal.
But no, I'm happy that we're not having to flip when this game's on Sunday night because it's going to be worth watching start to finish. Agreed. If it's as good as advertised, it's going to be a good one.
I agree.
Yeah, and Ernest Jones, the piece that surprised me the most of the moves the Rams made, training him to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big cog in that defense that I think they're going to miss, especially that running attack in Detroit when this thing comes down to it. The last game, to me, this is going to be another blowout. San Francisco's hosting the Jets. So over-under on Aaron Rodgers' plays at 5. Does he survive 5 plays this year? I'm joking, of course.
Yeah.
Look, as a Packer fan, I can tell you, Aaron Rodgers does not play the Niners well. So on top of everything else, I'm coming back in a game on Monday night in San Fran with a team he just doesn't play well against. The team that drafted Alex Smith, QB tiny hands over him, he does not play well when he goes there. And I know it's different years, different team. Aaron is more enlightened, I'm sure, than ever with his darkness retreats. But I don't like the Jets' chances here, and that defense is going to look bad. Make no mistake, this is an elite defense. They're going to look bad against this 49ers offense. Because Shanahan's just that darn good. But, Troy, going to you. Do the Jets have a chance in this game? Is there a prayer?
I think they do.
Okay.
I'm not. I think the Jets start falling apart later in the season. I actually think they're going to get off to a hot start here a little bit.
Okay.
But I think age and injuries and stuff are going to start eventually catching up to them late in the season, and that's when you're going to start seeing them falling apart a little bit. I don't think they win this game, but I think it's close. What's the line on this one?
4.5 for San Fran.
I'll still say San Fran to cover, but I think it's probably more like a touchdown. I'll say like 24-17, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve?
I mean, we've got the intrigue of seeing how long, if Aaron Rodgers can last, in this game. Over under of 44 as one I've got, which is right, Troy, where your number is. So, I mean, I think it's just going to be the Jets aren't going to embarrass themselves, but I think this is more hype for eyeballs seeing what Aaron Rodgers does or doesn't do rather than the whole big picture of both teams. And it's going to be a good game. But once again, the subplot is national TV first week of the season. Is Aaron Rodgers survive all 4 quarters without something going wrong?
Let me ask you this, and this just came to my head off, I don't even know why, but is the last time the Niners and the Jets faced off each other in the season opener, wasn't that Garrison Hurst 99-yard touchdown run in overtime or whatever? Or
trying to remember.
I couldn't tell you. I'm gonna look it up now because I got to.
Yeah, I think it was. Do you remember the play?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking that was maybe 99-ish, 2000-ish, somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure that was opening week. I'm pretty sure that was against the Jets.
Let me see here. They played in 98. Let me see. Let me see here. Garrison Hurst had let me see. Did he have a long run? 96 in overtime to win the game.
Yep. There you go. So that's pretty cool. I wonder if they'll show that highlight,
Yeah, September 6, 98 in San Francisco.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if they show that highlight and talk about that a little bit, because I remember seeing that. That was a pretty neat thing. T.O. made a heck of a downfield block to spring that, and you don't hear about that type of stuff with receivers like him too often. But he made a heck of a block downfield to spring Garrison Hurst in that game. I think was that still Steve Young or was that Jeff Garcia?
That was Steve Young.
96. Okay. That was still Steve Young.
That was Steve Young. Yep.
98. Yeah.
So
98. Yep.
Fascinating. This is only the 15th time these teams have played each other.
Wow.
Which surprises me.
Yeah.
Out of conference.
Again, I get AFC, NFC, but
yeah. And let's be honest here too. Back in the day, correct me if I'm wrong, when the teams were 5 divisions or 5 teams in a division, they didn't always play every team from the other conference, did they?
I don't know what the structure was exactly.
The point I'm trying to make is, like, the Niners were always at the top of their division, and during that time frame, the Jets were at the bottom of their division a lot. So there was probably a lot of times where if they didn't play every team from the other conference that they were playing that year, that they might have missed each other because the Jets were low and the Niners were high, and then they didn't match up.
So the biggest gap in them playing each other was 6 years from 92 to 98. They were 71, 76, 80, 83, 86, 89, 92, and then 92 until 98 until they played each other again. And that was that.
So
Garrison
that might have been when
98.
that might have been when there were 5 teams in the division, and they might have missed each other that time. But the weird thing is that's when the Niners only had 4 teams. Yeah. The Niners only had 4 teams in their division at that time, though.
Right. So I couldn't tell you what the anomaly was there exactly, but how they managed to skip playing a team for 6 years is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I'll blame.
But then you see teams that play other conference teams like 4 or 5 years in a row, just based on the intra-conference matching up, and then just based on their previous year's strength of schedule, or however that scheduling formula is based on their record, and they just keep hitting them over and over and over again.
Hey, I'm getting scared here, boys. I need some advice. I got a four-way parlay here. I had Derrick Henry and Isaiah Pacheco each to score a touchdown, which happened. I have the Chiefs money line, and I have it under 46.5. I put $2 on this game on that parlay. The payout would be $40. But right now they're offering me a cash out at $11.50.
That's tough, man. I advised you wrong last week. I'm going to shut up this week.
I'm getting scared, and I'm kind of thinking I want to take that cash out. I mean, I know it's only $10, but still, winning $10 is better than not getting anything. I don't know. Back before that long touchdown pass, I had a chance to cash out at $24. So.
By the way, guys, little skirmish here in the Ravens-Chiefs game. Somebody in street clothes thought they were going to start pushing Roquan Smith. That's always a good idea.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
So, by the way,
and what? And no penalty was called, and John Harbaugh's pissed about it, huh?
Well, they're mad because they thought Roquan was hitting Mahomes late, and yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, but Harbaugh was upset.
Jets,
I saw Harbaugh was upset.
He should be. I mean, we had what? That one guy, the big gangster-looking dude that got in the fight, the security sideline guy for the Eagles was it last year?
Yeah.
He was banned from the sideline.
Yep.
I'm curious with a guy who's not in clothes starting to make contact with the player from the other team on the sideline. I'm guessing there's going to be fines on that one after the fact.
You would
but
imagine.
Just while we're ripping the Jets, one fun fact, they only have a winning record against 6 teams in the entire league.
Okay. Is this a trivia time?
So let's go for it. Why not? We got a little time to finish up with.
Okay.
If you had to go with 6 teams, do you think they have a winning record against in the league?
Oh, Jesus. I should have cashed out.
What's this again, Ben? Repeat the question.
The Jets only have a winning record against 6 teams in the NFL. Which 6 teams do they have a winning record against?
Ooh. The Jaguars?
They do not. They're 8-9 against the Jaguars.
Ooh, they're close.
Is that one of them?
The Texans?
Yeah.
That I heard is correct. They're 7-3 against the Houston Texans.
Whoa.
Okay.
That's one. Yep. Steve, your turn.
The Browns?
They are 14-16 against the Cleveland Browns all time.
Ooh.
I keep picking the ones that are really close.
Cardinals.
Cardinals are correct. 6-4 against the Arizona Cardinals.
You're picking good, Troy.
Go ahead.
Carolina.
Carolina, they are 3-5 against the Panthers.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna go with the Lions.
The Detroit Lions, they are 7-8 against the Lions.
Oh. 2.
So we have 4 left. I'm gonna go ahead.
Raiders.
I'm reading here a little bit for you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, say that again.
I was gonna say the Raiders.
Interesting. They are 20-27-2 against the Raiders.
Okay, I'm done making choices then.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
Okay. The Chargers, they are 14-24-1 against.
Oh wow.
They don't play well against the West Coast, it looks like.
No, so the Bengals, they're 18-11 against.
Oh.
Okay.
The Packers, they're 9-5 against.
I was gonna say the Packers.
Wow. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. The Minnesota Vikings, they're 8-4 against. And
NFC North teams.
Missing one more yet. Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 10-3 against.
Another old NFC North.
Impressive.
Yeah, interesting random Jets trivia for your Thursday night.
Nice.
But with that said, guys, let's kick it to 4 minutes on high. It's the wrong screen. There we go. So leading us off here a little bit, I'm going to just take a moment to breathe in. Fall is here. Maybe not in the traditional calendar sense, but football is back. The boys are playing on the high school field. And with that comes the time of year when we all like to talk about this, the BS the refs give us every single week. So I want to say this. at the professional level, let her rip. You want to rip Hockley a new one, go for it. But when you're out in your local sports events, high school or otherwise, please take it easy on these officials. As a guy who volunteers to coach for my kids' teams, I make a point with my assistant coaches and my players. You do not give the refs or umpires a hard time. So I ask you guys, as a Dads of Bacon Nation, take it easy on the refs at these lower levels. But if you want to rip the college and pros a new one, I'm here for it, buddy. Let's let her rip. But with that said, Steve, I'm going to kick to you for your 4 minutes on high.
I've got 1 minute on high, and it involves how many different things we need to subscribe to now to watch all of these games.
Right.
Man, why can't it be like the old days when you'd sit in front of your TV and it was ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, a couple other things,
TNT
and that was
there
it
for a while.
What was that, Troy?
TNT was there for a while. Remember
Yeah,
that?
I mean, now they're back.
Yeah.
But now it's like you've got the game tomorrow night's on Peacock. The Oregon-Boise State game on Saturday night is on Peacock. And it's just like, I understand they've got to make these rights agreements valuable, and they've got to bring in additional revenue because cable subscriptions aren't cutting it anymore. But the fact that you're sending people scrambling to find these games now, we're going back to the old days when you listen to most of the games on the radio. That's what's going to turn into again, is that, I mean, the NFL, thank goodness, has the rule where you have to broadcast the game over the air in the local markets. So, Ben, you guys up in Green Bay will be able to see the game without having to subscribe to Peacock. But the majority of the country, if you haven't paid up, you're going to be watching highlights after the game, or you're going to be listening to it on the radio. So, that's where we are. But it's just crazy when you look at the schedule of where's this game this week for my team. And more of these games are on overflow feeds, streaming only, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's got to happen. There's going to be a day when it's all going to be streaming, but it's just so confusing for a lot of people these days.
Fair enough. I'll question you one thing, because I'm curious. I put in the chat here too. Are you a WWE or Premier League fan? Because honestly, that's why I have my Peacock subscription, is for the WWE Network and for English Premier League.
Yep.
But I do understand, because in Wisconsin especially, while there are wrestling fans, there's not a lot of Premier League fans in the area, to say the least.
Yep.
And the bars were quite upset having to get a Peacock subscription for their bar to be able to show the Packer game when they were on Peacock last year. So I definitely hear your buzz there as well.
Yeah. I'm a Premier League fan, so I use it for that, Ben, but it's the fact of the common person. Right. Where is it? Can they find it? So, well,
I didn't think the meme went around before was Red Foreman would be turning red.
Yep.
If he had 8 subscriptions to watch the Packers play 16, 17 games in a season.
Yep.
So, Troy, you're up, man. What you got?
And I will say, before I jump in here, I will say this, as somebody that works in the communications field, this is kind of something you guys all made happen, because for years and years and years, people were bitching and complaining that the cable companies and dish companies would give you all these channels that you never watched. And why can't we just pick the channels we want? Blah, 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 blah. Here you go. Now you have to sign up for all these subscriptions to get the channels you want. So this is kind of the bed that you guys made here by complaining about all the cable companies and dish companies giving you channels you didn't want.
Yep.
What I will say, this isn't really going to be 4 minutes on high per se. Charles wasn't able to join us tonight. And his community down there has gone through a lot, and, thoughts and prayers and everything. And it sounds so cliche because we've heard it how many times, but what else can you really say? We're not in a position to make a change that needs to be made, but we hope that community's doing okay and holding everybody together. And were they up to 5 casualties at this point? I think I saw. Was that? I think it was like 3 children and 2 teachers or something like that. I could be wrong. But it's just something needs to happen here. And I know there's different stances on different sides of the aisle. We don't want guns taken away. I don't either. I don't think that's the answer. But we need to protect these kids in school. We shouldn't be worried about sending our kids to school and something happening to them there. I mean, we need more security there. We need more people looking out for it. Like, we send people into government buildings and we take care of all those people, and look at all the security measures you have to go through to get into those buildings. But the future of our country and our kids and stuff like that, like they're just thrown into these places and become, just target practice, because that's what they are when they go into. They have no escape. They have no way to get out. They have no protection. They have nothing when they're in there. So we need both sides of this aisle to come together and figure out what we need to do to solve this equation, solve this problem, because it's obviously not going away. And to keep saying this every time, thoughts and prayers, like it doesn't do anything to bring the people back that we lost for stupid reasons like this. So I just wanted to start my segment by saying that, and thoughts to Charles down there and that whole community, and hope everybody's doing as well as they possibly can. And then to lighten it up just a little bit, like I know we talked about starting off the show saying it's back, but here we are. We've almost talked through this whole game here tonight. We got 5 minutes left, 27-17 Kansas City. Baltimore is on the move, and I don't like cold weather. I'm not a fan of cold weather. But this is the one thing I do look forward to during the winter is watching some football. I love watching football. I don't care what the teams are. Let me see some football being played. This is great. And I'm happy it's back. Other than the cold weather it comes with, I'm glad it's back. So happy football season, everybody.
On that note, guys, thanks for joining us, and have a great and safe weekend. Go Pack, go.
Where else? Yeah, I could stand to lose a few pounds, but for right now, I'm working on my dad bod. Oh my God.